As a soul, it is an amazing time to be on the planet, even with all that's going on, which can often leave us feeling overwhelmed, unsettled, and oftentimes with a bleak outlook for the future. But it's through these times when it's important to find that special roadmap to help you through it all. My guest today has done just that, created a dynamic roadmap to support your journey, and I'm excited to share him with you. His name is Dr. Darren Starwynn, and he has had a long career as an acupuncturist, medical device developer, writer, healer, and teacher, integrating therapeutic systems from around the world. He has written 4 groundbreaking books, led hundreds of workshops and seminars, and invented several vibrational devices used worldwide. He has helped innovate advanced mind-body healing systems, and today he has brought along his roadmap that will help you uncover your inner superpowers, upgrade your physical body, and help uplift humanity. Welcome, Darren.
Thank you so much, Teresa. I love that introduction, and I enjoyed getting to know you earlier.
It's a pleasure for myself too, always meeting a like-minded soul in the world and someone who is out there making a difference. And I'm excited about your book, Awakening the Avatar Within, a roadmap to uncover your superpowers, upgrade your body, and uplift humanity.
And that's quite a lot of things to put into one book.
Well, you know what, Darren, when I got your book and I started reading through it, I was like, this is an encyclopedia. So I kept calling it Encyclopedia Darren. If my listeners remember what encyclopedias are, they are a whole variety of books, one after another about different subjects. And I felt like your book is an encyclopedia about the soul and how to move through what we're going through into being a avatar. So I'd love for you to start with a little bit about what is an avatar.
Right. Well, avatar is a word that comes from Sanskrit, and the word in Sanskrit is very similar. It's avatara, and it literally means descent. So it's talking about the divine source energy of the universe literally descending into a lower vibration where it can actually be in a physical body and yet remember who it is, remember what it is. Because most of us live in a state of total spiritual amnesia. We're walking around believing we're a physical body and a mind that's going to die and a body that's going to die, and that we have to compete with others. In other words, it's a very sleeping, fallen state. So an avatar is someone who's in a body, but at least to some extent remembers who he or she really is. And also what goes along with being an avatar is a purpose. In other words, this divine comes always for a purpose. It's very purposeful energy. So, and often it's a big purpose. So like there's famous avatars that we've heard of, like Jesus and Buddha and Kuan Yin, and then maybe the more modern ones like Martin Luther King and Gandhi, and people like this are avatars that have giant missions that affect millions and billions of people. What I'm saying is that actually everybody who's listening to this who has some amount of spiritual awareness, you're also an avatar. And you're awakening to that now. Now, you don't have to have a mission as big as Jesus did. You might have, it might seem small to you, but on an energetic level, you do have a big mission to radiate the vibrations of who you are and to contribute to this ascension of light that we're in.
Yeah, and with that too, I notice how you always talk about, well, the superpower and how it calls to you, and that's kind of what I'm hearing you talk about. And I wanted to read a little bit in chapter 4. You have a beautiful quote in there. It says, "It calls you to uncover and express the potency of your light beyond the comfort zone of your conditioned mind." And that's what I hear you talking about, is coming out, getting out of your mind and really embracing what you're here to do, no matter what level it is at. Is that kind of what you're saying?
Yes, it's this thing about understanding what our mind is and how it's limiting us is a huge part of awakening, because the conditioned mind has gotten so heavy at our modern time. I mean, there's just been ages and ages of human suffering and trauma and many controlling factors, let's say, that are both human and non-human, that have been manipulating the human race for so long, and it's built up such a mass of conditioning. I use this other words for it. You can call it conditioning, you can call it samskara, that's a Sanskrit term. I like the term residue. It's just like so much burden
I
that
love that.
we're carrying on a soul level or on a mental and emotional level, that living in a state of post-traumatic stress has become our new normal. Like literally, I mean, there's some people with extreme post-traumatic stress, also called PTSD, that are really suffering and have to be on medications and are at high risk of suicide or domestic violence. But then there's all the rest of us that live at what I call low-grade PTSD, the whole human race at this point, because this burden has gotten so heavy of the conditioned mind. But at this, so that's why the world seems so bizarre and crazy right now. Like it almost seems like in the USA, there's many people wanting to go back and reenact the Civil War again from the 1800s. And, we have, the first major war in Europe since, before we were born. But really on the other side, the veil of the conditioned mind has gotten very, very thin, and it's much easier to penetrate it and come into this ascended state, this awakened state than it ever was before. So it's a real dichotomy this time we're in right now.
And along with us as souls in physical bodies here moving through this, there's so much talk on the planet now of like, of being a new place to be in, a new earth, a new energy. So let's talk about that, because we're all going through it. And so, we're all experiencing it through our all aspects of our being, our emotional, our physical, our mental. But I think that aren't we already kind of there on the new earth of what's, what we've been waiting for and what we're really all came in right now to experience? Because I believe that's why we're all here right now at this moment in time.
Yeah, Teresa, that is such an important point, that we are literally in this new earth already. This new earth vibrates on the level often called the fifth dimension. Fifth dimension is something that's recognized by physics and mathematics, and it also is a realm of consciousness where there is oneness. There's not dualistic, polarized realities, and love is the only reality in the fifth dimension. And humans who are attuned to fifth dimension can create much more proactively, can manifest much more easily, and really feel their hearts getting really happy because you're moving out of that painful duality. So it's already here. And there's a story, many people may have heard this old story called The Chronicles of Narnia by C.S. Lewis. That was a series of books that I read back in the 70s. And there was one story from that book that I quoted in my book, Avatar book, that is such a good example of that, where there was a huge battle between all these evil, dark forces and these light animals and beings, and Aslan the lion, who is kind of like a Christ-like figure in that story. So it was called The Last Battle, the name of this book in the series. And this giant battle happened, and it was dark at night, and there was, thunder and lightning, and people were suffering and dying. And then the good light forces won the battle. The light forces triumphed. And then the sun came out, and the birds were singing, and everything was really beautiful. And these children from the light side were walking, and they saw these dwarfs who had been on the dark army huddled, cursing and screaming. And they said, "Why are you doing this? The war is over." And they said, "Get away from me, don't hurt me." And they said, "We're not going to hurt you. It's over. You're forgiven. You can come out now. Everything's okay." And these dwarfs refused to see that the war was over. They just kept cursing and being in terror and fear. And then Aslan the lion came over and said, "There's nothing you can do for them. If they're not willing to open their eyes and see, there's nothing you can do." And I think that's such a beautiful story for what's going on in our planet right now, that our conditioned mind, to the extent that we're focused on it, we're thinking we're in this nightmare, old, dark world, and we keep acting out as if that's the way it is. But if you just open your eyes and open your heart and kind of get with it and receive what I call activations, which is where it's like, somebody who's awake or some group helps you to wake up, you can enjoy this new earth right now.
Without a doubt. And I love that story. And it reminds me of how there are so many forces I feel right now on the planet that are trying to keep things from being what really are already here. Like you said, the new earth is already here. We're already embracing new energies constantly. All kinds of things are happening. and shifting. And there's a lot of forces that don't want us to move into this. So that is, I mean, how, that book was written so many years ago, but it's so prevalent to really what we're going through today.
Yeah, and that's a very interesting subject about these forces that want to keep us asleep. And it's something that's become very, very sophisticated. Basically, there is, I mean, people talk about conspiracy theories, and the people who are really doing the real conspiracy love when people are debating about conspiracy theories because it distracts them from the real conspiracy going on. And there really are both human and non-physical beings who have conspired for a long time to basically keep the human race in a state of slavery and to make it convince us that we're not slaves, that we're actually free. But there's until you really awaken to your avatar self, you are basically living in a state of slavery. I'll say that without knowing it. Some people know it. Some people in this world, it's obvious. But it's freeing your mind from that. We can all step out of that.
And I think even for those people on the planet right now who maybe are not as awake as others and maybe don't understand or get a bigger spiritual picture of who they are as a soul and all that's going on, they are, I mean, everyone on the planet's an energetic being. So we're all feeling these energies and the things that are going on. And in your book, you really dive into, I mean, like I said, it's like an encyclopedia. So there's all kinds of aspects of awakening the avatar within. But the one thing that really stuck out to me is the ascension symptoms that people can experience as they go through the changes that are going on the planet. So I'd like to talk a little bit about that because I know a lot of people right now, or I shouldn't say I know, I hear a lot of people that I work with and interact with that are saying, it's hard for me to get out of bed. I'm feeling dizzy. I mean, all kinds of really intense symptoms that they don't quite understand what's really going on.
That's so true. Because what's happening is as these vibrations of light are getting stronger and stronger on the planet, it's acting kind of like a spiritual roto-rooter. I like that term. I don't know if anyone remembers roto-rooter, but it's a company that will
roto-rooter, that's the way.
It cleans out your drains.
Troubles down the drain. Yeah, I remember
roto-rooter. There you go. Okay, good. You got it.
I love jingles.
Yeah. You wonder where the yellow went, all those kinds of things. Yeah. Those, they stick in your head, don't they?
They sure do, for sure.
So yeah, there's just a lot of cleansing going on our planet right now. So one reason that these crazy wars are going on and the voter suppression work going and all these things is because there's a lot of things that have to come to the surface before they can be released. A lot of the old thought and old trauma and old emotional conditioning and even rivalries between different nations and races, like it all has to come up so it can be permanently released. And that happens inside of individuals also, is that most of us have a dark side of us, of like forgotten or repressed parts of us, or denied parts of us, or trauma we haven't processed, or ancestral energies. There's so much of this that is sitting below the surface, like the tip of the iceberg is what we think of, our conscious mind. And so what's happening now is that these ascension energies are bringing these things up in people's psyche faster than they can usually process it. And it can feel like, like tiredness. It can feel like insomnia. It can feel like depression. It can feel like I'm losing my mind, or strange conflicts with people that come out of nowhere. Or sometimes they've been very beautiful things though, or sometimes you just feel really high and elevated. You don't really know why. And you're having this amazing day and everything looks so full of light and people give you amazing gifts out of nowhere. So all these sort of things, they can be called ascension symptoms. It's this cleansing and uplifting and upgrading of our bodies that's going on for every human being on earth. The question is, if you're consciously going with it and cooperating with it, eating a good diet and breathing deeply and getting out of nature and, choosing loving thoughts, it can actually be a really incredible time to be alive right now. But when you're fearing it, resisting it, or what the hell's going on, it can be a very scary time.
So it's kind of like which side do you, where do you want to play at, right? Do you want to
Which
play in
side
the
of the
fear,
playground you want
anxiety,
to be
or
on?
exactly, yeah, like what part of the ball field do you want to play in? I want to be the pitcher. I want to, or I want to be the batter to know where I'm hitting my ball to.
So, the thing that I'm sure you've said this and heard this so many times, but love is the answer.
Mhm.
Loving yourself, whatever you're going through, and releasing the judgment and self-criticism and like something's wrong with me. There's nothing wrong with you. You are going through an amazing process of awakening, and there maybe be some rough spots. That just extra love for yourself and love for the people around you is always the answer.
I love that, Darren. And it's funny because I've been regrouping lately. I interview a lot of people, and so the key component to everyone, that's what they're bringing through their books, their events, whatever they're doing, is love. That is the key component that all of us are out there in the world sharing and spreading it. And it feels great. I agree with you. I feel this is an amazing time to be alive. It's just finding, like your book, the roadmap to help us get through, to maybe to access some of, you've got some beautiful foundational practices I want to talk a little bit about. Maybe you'd like to share one with the listeners.
Yeah, I'd love to do that for those of you who are listening to this, because it's all about experience. This is not I'm not really here to give you a new philosophy of life or something like that. So it's all about actually being in the experience of embodiment, because that's a big part of living as an avatar, is that everybody in the world has this true divine self. Everybody has this potential avatar experience. It's how much you're embodying it in your physical body on a moment to moment basis that makes the difference. So here's a few really simple practices that are right in the front of my book. I call them foundational practices. And once you learn, and it'll take me a few minutes to explain them, but once you actually learn them, you can do them in about 5, 10 seconds. So, people that say, I don't have time to meditate, that's not true with this one. You could be doing it, anything you're doing, you can be doing these foundational practices. So the first one I call a purity blast. A purity blast is just your power to clear the energy in your field and in around you. And it's so important because there is a lot of stray vibrations of many kinds that are affecting us from so many different things, electromagnetic fields. And and one example is I work with clients. I've been a doctor and a healer for a long, long time. So in a treatment room, when somebody comes in and they, let's say, go through some kind of big release and healing, some of the vibrations of what they released are there in the room because it's energy, it's a vibrational energy. So I find it vital to clear that energy before the next client or patient comes in. And even if it's on Zoom, it doesn't really matter. And so a way to do a purity blast is simply believe you can. I just like to put one hand in the air and simply say, I now command a purity blast. You just say it with authority because you're a sovereign being who can command energy. I now command a purity blast. And then just notice what you feel. Every time I say it, I just feel like some kind of whoosh of subtle energy move through me, and I just feel higher and clearer afterwards. And people who have never done it before, as soon as they try it, they go, "Oh yeah, I felt something." Even people that often feel insensitive to energy. So that's the first step, is a purity blast. The second step is to do some simple practices that bring your attention inside your own body. Pull it back from all the places that you've been, dispersing your energy and your anxieties and worries and thoughts and obligations, and pull all that back in your body. And you can simply put the tip of your tongue on the roof of your mouth, slightly behind your two front upper teeth. That's called the master hookup point. And when you put your tongue in that position on the top of your mouth, it instantly connects all the major energy meridians of your body, the yin and the yang, as it's spoken of in Chinese medicine, into one flow. Just that simple practice, putting your tongue there. And then at the same time, breathe deeply in your lower abdomen. So why don't you try that with me? If you want to play, just go ahead and put your tongue in that position, take some deep breaths, and just relax. One thing I've noticed is that it's almost impossible to feel anxiety when my tongue is in that position. It short circuits anxiety. If you want to have anxiety, you'll have to remove your tongue from that position. For some reason, that's something you want to experience. And then after that, once you've done that, the next step is called calling yourself in. And again, just with authority, you say, I now call all of my energy back into my own body. And just mean it. Just say it with authority. And all the things like with social medias and your cell phone and what you forgot to pick up at the supermarket or what you heard on the news that really freaked you out, or all those things, you just back into your own body. And then you immediately feel more embodied. And then you can take some of that energy that you brought into your own body and let it sink down into the earth, because modern people are generally never grounded enough. So just sink it down into Mother Earth, at least 2 feet into the earth, and just feel that grounding, electromagnetic grounding. And then complete the foundational practice with love, this loving presence. Tune into the feeling of love on a heart-centered level. So you can do all that in just a few seconds once you learn it. And that's in the chapter called Getting Started in my book.
And I love, Darren, how you put that right at the beginning. So it's like, hey, let's get this going. Here's your foundations and move on.
Right. Because I'm really not that interested in writing, again, a book just for people to have more intellectual ideas and information and so on. Leave that to other people. This is about really being in this embodiment and actually really activating your own circuitry between your spiritual self and your physical body. That's when you really have this experience.
And I like the way too you broke it down. I mean, so there's stuff in there. There's quantum physics stuff.
Right.
There's all kinds of different aspects of awakening the avatar within. And I want to go back real quick about your foundational practices, because I feel it's so important for people to really grasp a hold of it's really basic practical practices is what you just shared with us, and how important it is. Because for myself, I've been sensitive my whole life, and I did not understand about cleansing the area of, I was a massage therapist and a healer, and I got sick and I got an autoimmune disease, and I actually, my hands are broken out. And it was because I was taking on so much energy, wasn't clearing it through my physical body. And I literally had to stop my practice and, go off a different way. But it's so important. That's one aspect of doing the practices, but also that calling myself in. So my husband and I do this even when we go out places, like if we go on a vacation, we make sure when we leave the hotel, we call our energy in. When we get home, we just make sure everywhere we go, we make sure that we're not leaving our energy in different places, because we can, as energetic beings, and not really even understand how important it is to make sure that I didn't leave my, part of me at my mom's house or part of me at the store.
Right.
And I feel like weird, like how come I feel that way? Because my energy is all over the place. So I love that you brought that aspect in, Darren. It's so important.
If we could see clairvoyantly and see what our energy was doing, it would look kind of like like splotches all over the place. It's all over the world, all over the universe. It would be bizarre if you could see that. So it's very powerful to call yourself in your own body. And it's really taking responsibility. It's really a form of what you could call claiming your power, because you're not in your power when your energy is dispersed. You're in your power when your energy is in your own body.
And that also comes back to, for myself, is being in control of my energy for myself. And that really is, I feel, what your book is about, is helping people learn how to do that and also maneuver through life with, trusting their inner knowing, working with their energy, staying, like you said, making sure you have all your energy with you and you're not all over the place. And the more that we can do that as individuals, souls, the more collective it can help everything. Do you believe that, Darren?
I absolutely do believe that, yes. That each individual human being has so much power to help change the world. We don't realize that, that seems like a egotistical thing or an unrealistic thing, but it's not. And certain people, like certain avatars, have demonstrated that. Jesus is an amazing example that here's a man, at least according to the Bible, he only did his teaching for 3 years before he was killed. And
right.
And yeah, and then during those 3 years, whatever he did, now like probably more than half the population of the planet follows him on some level and is receiving from. Now there's billions and billions of people 2,000 years later. Now that's power. That's tremendous power. That one man doing that function for a short amount of time. Now, of course, a lot of evil's been done in the name of Jesus, and that's a whole nother subject. But we're moving into a different time on the planet where less of that abuse will be happening. But the thing is, he's not unique. There's nothing special about him ultimately. I mean, it could seem like he's so special, but he's the one who said, "What I have done, all humans can do and greater." Like that's his quote. I mean, I wonder. So he's basically saying that I'm here to prototype being a Christ or being an avatar so that you can do what I'm doing and even go beyond what I've done. That's to me the message that isn't spoken about enough, in the Christian religions. This more like put him on a pedestal and say, no, he's the one, or he's the one, worship him. He never wanted that. So the thing is that you who are listening to this, you have just as much capability to change the world as Jesus did, or Kuan Yin, or Mother Mary, or Gandhi, or all these people. You don't have to go out in public and do a giant thing like they do. You might have a quiet life. You could even be like in a assisted living community, just playing parcheesi with other people. You could still be changing the world because of your consciousness. The amount of doing is variable. But yeah, you're right, Teresa. We have so much more power as individuals when we claim our avatar self than we've ever imagined.
And even though it seems like there's not a lot of people out there with this mindset, there are so many of us out here. And it's the most amazing time where we're not, being burnt at the stake. We're not, there's so many things that are not happening to us this lifetime that we're back here going, okay, this is it. And we're here to help humanity shift into this new love vibration and just have an amazing time while we're here. Even though I do know on the planet, this is a place of learning and growing. So, there's always going to be, both ends of the spectrum. But overall, how can I, as a soul and as an energetic being, move through my life and have the greatest, awareness I can have and help people and just really have a good time while I'm here in the midst of so much going on. So
you're right. It's important to have a really good time because we're here to, the more you celebrate, sing, dance, share love, it creates these positive vibrations. I've learned that it's important not to be too serious, 3 serious, or 4 serious, because the world is sort of like a joke what's going on, that we're these God beings going through so much suffering and self-doubt, and it's kind of comical in a way. It's also there's a lot of real suffering. So that's where compassion comes in, is that to whatever extent any of us do wake up and feel our true self, just to try to share it with others as much as possible. This is the time to be doing that. Go out of your way a little bit, out of your comfort zone, to share more. And I know that I've been pushing myself to do that for a long time. And I used to be, really afraid to even be in groups, much less speak up in them back when I was younger. It's almost like a paranoia that I felt about it. And now I'm totally comfortable getting in front of any group because I've just worked on it. I've worked on it, to want to share that part. And I encourage those of you who are listening to this, you have superpowers. You have amazing gifts inside of you. And the best way to find out what your superpowers are and to bring them out is to put yourself in a position where your superpowers are needed and you're the one there to give it. That's one of the quotes from my book too. So the way that I've developed my superpowers is by taking risks. Like, in other words, let's say a lot of it's been through teaching or sharing or putting myself in a position of being a healer to somebody with an extremely difficult situation where my mind has no clue what to do to help them. And I just put myself in the position, and then magic happens so often, and the person has these remarkable shifts. Like one story from just 2 weeks ago, I reached out to one woman who teaches estheticians in Texas, has a big following, and I asked her if she would help me promote my webinar that's happening today. And I've known this woman a long time, and she has a She has one of my microcurrent machines that she bought a long time ago. And she said yes. And then she also said, I feel so burned out now because my partner left my practice and I have to redo all my training videos. And I've been editing and teaching, editing and making videos 12 hours a day. And my eyes are killing me and my back is aching and I'm feeling so burned out. And she just mentioned that in the course of the conversation. I just spontaneously said, would you like to receive a 1 minute quantum healing over the phone? No, I've never even met her. I just known of her. She said, sure. So my mind didn't know how to heal her. I didn't have a specific technique. I just invoked the quantum field, which interconnects everything in the universe. And I focused on her with love. And what I experienced was I started seeing things like my higher self started showing me some different energy patterns in her. And I just simply intended that she was receiving whatever she needed. And, I didn't really do that much. It was more like holding a space and observing. And I got to admit, it went 2 minutes instead of 1 minute. I said a 1 minute quantum actually took 2 minutes. And when I was done, she said, what did you do? I said, what? She said, my back isn't even hurting anymore. And I feel like so rejuvenated, like I actually got a good night's sleep. And I said, what about your eyes? Yeah, they're not really aching anymore. I mean, I experience these things so frequently. And again, it's not the superpower that my ego self says, yes, I'm super. It's just sort of that I'm trusting that there's this amazing field that can do these miraculous things. And I trust it and put myself in situations so that field can operate and I can be, let's say, a catalyst for other people. And so that's how you develop superpowers, by being of service to others and just getting doubt out of your mind that it's not possible. If you say it's impossible, it's impossible. If you say it's possible, it is possible.
And I found too that in those situations where like just being a channel and just showing up and being present, and spirit backs, and spirit will be like, okay, this is what needs to come through at this moment. Like you and that wonderful woman, it's like, this is the energy she needs. And that was brought through because you just were in your love vibration and allowed it to channel through. And I love that, Darren.
So you are a miracle worker. Even if you don't think you are, you have this capacity. I mean, human being has such incredible capabilities, and we're usually focused on the most negative, painful part of our experience and what we don't have and what we're lacking. But I tell you, this is the time to like let go of that, because you're needed. Your gifts and your superpowers are needed. So in my book, you will really get a clear instruction how to recognize what your superpowers are, step-by-step roadmap, how to bring them out. And I also have, events that I share where we actually get together and help each other do that. And we have some of those coming up too that are going to be very, very helpful.
Yeah, you've got a 14-week one and starting April 14th, right?
Right. That's something I'm really excited about. I've never done this type of format before. It's called the Quantum Healer Master Course, and it starts on Thursday, April 14th, and it'll meet every Thursday for an hour and a half once a week. And there's also going to be a 3-day intensive retreat in June that's part of the same master course. And I basically took the best of all the quantum healing work that I do and that I've learned, and a lot of energy medicine, a lot of things of developing your intuition, and some things about quantum science and universal laws that are really empower you, and just put it all together in this. And that will be starting. And I would say this course is for people who really would love to function as a healer in their life, whether it's for themselves and their loved ones or professionally. And I believe most of the people who will be attending the course will be, people who are energy healers or acupuncturists or, doctors. But there'll be also people that want to just really go through this awakening avatar process themselves, just for themselves. That can also be part of that course.
So what I would suggest is getting the book first, reading the book, and then by then, April 14th, you'll be gangbusters ready to get on that course. Right, Darren?
Yeah. I'm also doing a webinar. Well, I'm sure by the time most people hear this, it'll be over, but I'm I'm doing a webinar today actually to introduce people to all the material of that course and give them activations right in the webinar. And there'll be other ones of those happening also. So, if you're interested in that, you could get on my list and you'd be notified of those events when they happen.
Great. And I will have all that in the show notes on how to get a hold of you, your website, the 14-week quantum healing master course that's coming up, and all that will be in there so people can go right to the show notes and just, pop on it and go in there and check everything out that you have to offer.
I appreciate you doing that. Thank you.
You're so welcome. Thank you so much, Darren, for coming on today. It has been such a pleasure. And I tell you, as I was reading through the book the last couple of weeks, I was so excited to have you on here and to share your information with everybody. So this is an encyclopedia, Darren, is amazing. And I highly recommend it because I read through it and it's an amazing book.
How would you say it affected you personally?
I would say that it increased my awareness of what I already know about myself as a soul and the healing capacities that I have. It definitely took it up a notch. And yeah, because now that I'm thinking back the last couple, maybe 2 or 3 weeks I've been reading it, I've had things happening. I've had awarenesses. I've definitely I'm feeling more, and I feel that my energy is shifting and has shifted. So yeah, that's what I would say. I would say I'm already, on a pretty good path, but it really just kind of took it up a notch.
Yeah, thank you. That's actually very accurate because that's how I experience being a quantum catalyst. That's really, I found that's one of my job descriptions. And what the book does is whatever level you are at now, spiritually and in terms of your healing abilities, it will take you up to the next level. That seems to be what my job description is. And so, because I work with some people that seem like very beginners, just beginning to dabble in spirituality and healing, and other people who are really advanced and have huge followings, it doesn't matter, whatever level that person's at, they go to the next level. So that's the gift that I can bring. And I'm very grateful that I can do that. Yeah.
Without a doubt. And so thank you again for coming on today. And like I said, I'll have all the information for you in the show notes. And I thank you so much, Darren. I hope to see you again on one of your events sometime soon.
Well, thank you so much for inviting me. I really appreciate it, Teresa. Have a beautiful day.
You too.